Right, 26 December 2024, and today I'm joined by a special guest, Mr. Tinashe Jonas, and you need no introduction. How are you, Mr. Jonas?
Fine, and you? You know, it's always a privilege to be on this platform.
Okay, fantastic. And today I want us to go very quickly because of the setup, and I want us to go through something that you have told me over the past week, and also something that I have explained to many people here on the platform. So many people are concerned about you and your safety. Now, after you revealed to me that you had to leave Botswana very quickly, or you had to escape from Botswana, can you take us through what happened in Botswana?
Yeah, okay. As some of your viewers maybe are knowing, or some they are not aware, that 11 years ago I started a radical political party called Ideal Zimbabwe. But after realizing that every opposition in Zimbabwe, either the leader is killed, or the leader is, or the party is destroyed, or is swallowed. That happened to ZAPU. Joshua Ngomo was supposed to take over at the expiry of the unit accord, but he was poisoned and he was killed. And Morgan Tsvangirai was his wife was killed by the intelligence of Zimbabwe, and he was given Elizabeth Macheka, an intelligence operative who systematically poisoned him with a cancer-causing poison, and Morgan Tsvangirai died. These were the very prominent opposition leaders that came before me, and I asked myself, what makes me safe from poisoning, and our party Ideal Zimbabwe safe from being destroyed? Those questions were supposed to be answered before we start seriously building the party and opposing ZANU-PF. That made me to join ZANU-PF and the Central Intelligence Organization. But so they thought we were together in ZANU-PF. They thought we were together in the Central Intelligence Organization. But I was on a research mission to realize what do they do to destroy opposition political parties. Because in Zimbabwe, from 1980 up to now, there is de facto one-party state that ED now wanted to turn into a kingdom, since he calls himself Munumutapa. So January 2020, I joined the Central Intelligence Organization and ZANU-PF, and I worked in the Department of Counterintelligence, and then I went to the Information and then the Department of Internal, where I gathered information that ZANU-PF is not a political party. ZANU-PF is an intelligence a project. It's an office of the president. It's the government. It's the CIOs. So when someone wants to remove ZANU-PF, you are actually facing ZANU-PF and facing the government of Zimbabwe, because the office of the president has captured the ZANU-PF, which is ED and Isaac Moyo, the CIO boss. The government of Zimbabwe is captured by ED and the CIO boss, Isaac Moyo. So when you are an opposition leader, you should face those two. Now, so 4 months ago, I left the intelligence, and obviously they put every resource available to try to abduct, to try to assassinate me, as they've done to more than 150 ZANU-PF supporters and members who were thought to be supporting Chiwenga, as they've done to almost 30 army generals thought to be supporting Chiwenga, who have been poisoned and have been buried so far. So Almost 3 months ago, I left South Africa for Botswana because when I was part of the intelligence, I had the privilege to work alongside my uncle, Donald Charumbira, who is the right-hand man of Isaac Moyo, the Director General of the Central Intelligence Organization. And I was working also directly with Isaac Moyo. So I had the privilege to understand what is going on, because they wanted me to spin propaganda within the counterintelligence and the information department and internal. So I had much access to information. So I went to Botswana to meet the opposition political parties, a Botswana Congress Party being led by Comrade Ian Seretse Kama, and the United Umbrella for Democratic Change being led by Duma Boko, who eventually won the elections and is the current president of Botswana. I had the information of the document called the chairman that seek to rig all elections in SADC, so that ZANU-PF's agenda of sodomizing the constitution of Zimbabwe through a coup that removed Robert Mugabe, and that power being sustained by rigging elections, and now wanting to turn Zimbabwe into a kingdom, Munumutapa kingdom, being run by Munumutapa, who is ED. The 2030, ED 2030, it's a lie. Although they are giving people cars through Chivayo, those cars are sponsored by Tagwire and ED. 2030, it's a lie. ED wants to, once he changes the constitution, he wants to be a life president. So I went to Botswana to tell them of how the CIO, in collaboration with the Botswana Democratic Party, BDP, being led by the former president Masisi, how they wanted to rig the election. So obviously, when you go to such a country and you are being pursued by your own intelligence and the office of Mnangagwa, you think you are comrades in arms. I met with the UDC. I was dealing with the Honorable Dr. Penyo Butale, who is now, he was the head of he was the Secretary General, is the Secretary General of the party and the head of the anti-rigging committee towards the elections. I was in Botswana end of September this year. And he was the man I was dealing with, telling him all the secrets, how ZANU-PF is going to rig those elections through the Central Intelligence Organization, because they are so-called Independent Electoral Commission had gone to Zimbabwe under the secrets that they were learning from ZEC how to run elections. When ZEC's elections, last year elections, were condemned by SADC and all international organizations. But the idea was they wanted to be taught and to collaborate with because ZEC in Zimbabwe is not an electoral body. It's run directly by the Central Intelligence Organization. The chairman, the commission chairperson of ZEC is none other than Isaac Moyo, the Director General of the intelligence, or the Mnangagwa's office. That Chugumba is just told what to do and given the figures, the results to announce, which has got nothing to do with what is in the ballot boxes. So obviously, I indicated to the Honorable Dr. Penyo Butale my situation in Botswana, that I was much in need, even accommodation, food, everything. But I found it very imperative to collaborate with them, because the ruling parties in SADC are working together to retain power by any means necessary, by rigging the elections in collaboration with the Zimbabwe's intelligence. So it's high time us as opposition political parties must collaborate to counter the rigging of elections. Yes, he understood my situation. He came with a gentleman called General, a retired army general who is part of the, I forgot his name, part of the UDC executive. And I was also in a connection, in contact with Nikki, the bodyguard of Duma Boko by then and now. I can tell you that even if they give me journalists in Botswana to interview me, like I remember I did an interview with the Valdo from Yaruna FM, and I was supposed to have other, I met, I'm forgetting him, from Botswana Independent and the Mail and Guardian. I met so much. These journalists, I was supposed to even to transport myself. To be honest, they promised to help in many ways, but unfortunately, the moment they won the elections, there was never any help. And Dr. Butale started even ignoring my calls. And I began to question, is the Duma, was many Botswana had warned me before I met these guys that Duma Boko is actually working with directly with Masisi, the former president. The plan was Masisi was fighting with Ian Kama, the former president, whose father had founded Botswana Democratic Party, BDP, which Masisi was leading. So speculation was that Masisi was in collaboration with Duma Boko to rig the election so that Duma Boko would win, and then BDP is no more, so that Kama won't have much power to say BDP is my father's party, so that Duma would then act as an opposition while he is a blue-eyed boy of the former president, so that the former president would be safe from arrest because he did a lot of scandals. Secondly, his companies would continue to enjoy tenders in the current government. So when I was told this, I doubted it, and I went ahead to collaborate with both BCP in Botswana Congress Party, sorry, this party of Comrade Ian Kama. I'm forgetting the name. I was dealing with the chairperson of the Ian Kama Seretse Kama Foundation. I went on to trust my instinct that this must be opposition, genuine opposition. But the way I was treated during and after, once I gave them all the information necessary, and after they won elections, and the closeness, if I'm not mistaken, Comrade Butale as the Minister of International Relations now is responsible for Botswana's foreign diplomacy. Obviously, he advised the President Duma Boko, his first international visit was to go to Victoria Falls to meet with Emerson Mnangagwa. His second visit was to go to the SADC, Troika, whatsoever. His second international visit was again in Zimbabwe. And he invited President, this illegitimate commander-in-chief of Zimbabwe, Mnangagwa, to his inauguration. Although his supporters, I was there in the stadium, his supporters, they didn't like Masisi and Mnangagwa, and they even booed them. But he was proud to invite Mnangagwa. And even a few days ago, Mnangagwa was close to where I was, a place called Rasesa, officially opening another building. I can say throughout this world, the person I can say is the closest president to Duma Boko is none other than Emerson Mnangagwa. And it boggled my mind that someone who was openly, ZANU-PF was openly campaigning against the Duma Boko's party, but Masisi was close to Mnangagwa to the point that he was even frequenting the Mnangagwa farm in Kwekwe, building mansions in Borodale. But now, I was even advising Duma Boko to be aware of being poisoned by Mnangagwa. But officially, these two are very close. And throughout my stay in Botswana, I had strange people or cars following me. I had to plus 1+1, and I had to leave Botswana in a half last Friday.
Okay, so I think there's need for us to clarify because I want us to separate the issues. So let's clarify what you're saying. You stayed in Botswana from September till December, but there was a time when you went to advise the guys in Namibia.
Yes.
Okay, so are you still, or did they suspect you of being Zimbabwe intelligence?
I don't think so, but what I suspect more is I doubt if Duma Boko is or was a clear opposition leader.
No, but yourself, there was Zimbabwe intelligence in Botswana at that time. How did you protect yourself from Zimbabwe intelligence way around Botswana at that time?
I was, if you remember, I was suffering from network. I was staying the houses I was staying in, and I was also not using a local number in Botswana. I was using my WhatsApp number, and I was staying in deep rural areas where people would not recognize me because, yeah, I was staying in such a place that no one would think I'm a public figure.
Okay, and where would you meet with the officials of the Umbrella for Democratic Change?
We were meeting normally around 8:30, 9 p.m. There's a hotel called Masa. Yeah, we were meeting in very secluded areas. Yeah.
Okay, and what had they promised you as part of the advice that you gave them?
No, obviously they promised because they knew my situation. Even in most meetings, after finishing the meetings, Honorable Dr. Penyo Butale was personally driving me home.
Okay, but did they make a financial promise to you to say they'll pay you a certain amount?
Yes, they engaged in, they promised that because they knew my situation was very dire in terms of my upkeep, because I was always changing places, as I always do. Yeah, they understood my situation very well.
Okay, and what amount do you think they agreed or were supposed to pay you?
No, remember, it was not a transactional relationship where I charged them, but they understood the way I risked my life crossing into Botswana, which was run by a rogue intelligence unit called DIS, Directorate of Intelligence and Security, which was in partnership with the a murderous intelligence unit called the CIO of Zimbabwe. So I risked a lot. So they understood and appreciated that. But so the promise was made on the basis of how I sacrificed to to make sure that the opposition in SADC, we create a grand coalition and we share intelligence and we cooperate as much as our ruling parties are doing.
Okay, so during the time you were in Botswana, did they ever give you any money for anything?
Yeah, the appreciation was there, but obviously, remember, it was that time that they were running around for the elections. But the appreciation was there, but very small, because at that moment, you know, whether you borrow, you do this, you know that after the conclusion of the election, they are going to appreciate, and that never happened.
Okay, so for the 3 months that you were in Botswana before the election, they took care of you. But as soon as the election was won, what did they do? What happened afterwards?
They started not answering calls.
Okay, and for how long did this happen? Did you approach people close to, because you're mentioning here the bodyguards of President Duma Boko? Do you approach them to say, guys, I need help?
Yeah, no, I was calling, he's called Nikki. I was always in constant contact, Nikki and the Dr. Penyo Butale, but they were not picking up calls.
Okay, and then they started following you around?
No, I was getting strange cars or people, you know, but I was very much safe, thinking now that the country is under the new administration. To my own understanding, I was thinking I must be very safe, because where I was staying, Honorable Dr. Penyu Butale was very aware of where I was staying. So I was very thinking that obviously I must be very secure.
Okay, then what made you escape from Botswana? Why did you run? What had happened? Is there a specific event that happened?
Yes, as I was going to Habron from home, there was a car, actually I can say 2 cars which were exchanging, a black BMW and a white Toyota GD6 were following. And as always, I was always in the comfort that no, the intelligence now, but my other fear then was to discover that the intelligence of Botswana is still being directed by Mahosi, the former director who was appointed by the former president, Masisi, and he is still in charge of the intelligence. That made me now question my comfort in terms of security, because throughout the world, normally when there's a new president, he normally appoints the head of intelligence. But currently in Botswana, almost 2 months later, the same director of intelligence head is in charge right now. Duma Boko only appointed the deputy director.
Okay, so you were traveling to Botswana, 2 cars were following you, and then what happened?
No, when I went into a mall, I just went into like a toilet, and I stayed there until darkness. Then I had to go through the border. But I was
Okay, so you didn't use the formal process?
No, I used the formal because I was with the people I know in a Kwandam who were coming to shop to South Africa. They are the ones who, when I told them my situation, they said I knew that during that evening they were going to Johannesburg. So they'd offered if I can want to go with them, because 2 of them are having some positions within the government. Sorry, the party, but at a district level. So they were personally helping me during my stay in Botswana when the party was no longer playing a part. So they said, if we are with you, we can obviously see what can happen at the border. They advised me to use the border, because they say if you can cross illegally and let's say you're being tracked, then you obviously you can disappear in the bushes, and it's night.
Okay. So last week, another Zimbabwean, Talent Rusere, made the same allegations that you're making here, saying that he assisted Duma Boko and his party to win. Did you ever meet Talent Rusere?
I know Talent Rusere. We have spoken. What happened was when I was at some point I was a manager for this is Zimbabwean woman in Dubai who acts like she's rich. I forget her name.
Edith Chibam.
Yeah, Edith Bamu asked me to be a manager. Talent was part of the a team, but I realized that Edith is part of the CIO of Zimbabwe. I think the same Talent also discovered that and he left. So yeah, me and Talent has been only engaging telephonically, but I've never met him physically. So
Okay, but
I know
you say the same thing that you're saying. That last week he was deported from Botswana, and at the same time that we're running, the same day, that is the day he says he was deported into Zimbabwe and arrested. And I'm just trying to connect if you guys were working together. Did you ever interact?
Personally, I never knew that Talent was in Botswana because I last communicated with him some years ago. I just see his videos because remember Talent is vocal. Sometimes I see his videos on social media, but I don't have even his number now. Probably I last spoke to him, I think probably more than 4 years ago. And yeah, I never knew he was in Botswana.
Okay. Do you believe that there are more secret or state agents from Zimbabwe in Botswana?
No, that much I'm aware. Remember, I was in the intelligence from January 2020 to almost May, June this year. So there are so many intelligence, and I know some of them there. And yeah, Botswana, Namibia, South Africa, there's a lot of intelligence. But now, I never knew that Talent was there.
Okay, I think let's wrap this up, and I think I want us to get the point clear. You say that you assisted President Duma Boko to win the elections through your underwritten advice. You held multiple meetings with the team of President Duma Boko leading up to the elections, but after they won the elections, they then started ignoring your calls. They did not assist you, and were in fact preparing to throw you back into Zimbabwe. Did I get this correct?
Yeah, no, to be honest, I felt my life was under threat because the way I was being followed, it was scary, but I was always feeling safe because I thought the opposition that I helped are now in power. I must be the most safest person. But realizing that the CIOs are too many in Botswana, and then my hosts are refusing to take my calls, I realized there must be a collaboration.
Okay. I don't want to obviously dismiss what you're saying, but I think maybe it's a bit far-fetched to say President Duma Boko would work with Mnangagwa after what happened at SADC. You saw that Mnangagwa was not even allowed in the building at SADC. How is that possible that President Duma Boko would ignore Mnangagwa and then still be working with him?
They ignore him ignoring Mnangagwa. That part I don't understand it because the president of Zambia The president of Zambia is clear. He doesn't even attend meetings in Zimbabwe. But if you count the heads of state, no one in SADC who is meeting Mnangagwa more than Duma Boko. No one. Count how many times they've met. You might be shocked that it might be more than 4 times, 5 times. So he's the only president in the SADC region who meets Mnangagwa more than any other president. So that part of ignoring and whatever, I don't understand it. But clearly, Duma Boko enjoys Mnangagwa's company.
Okay, so what would you want to? So obviously, guys from Botswana are watching here. What would you want them to do to solve this situation? You're saying that they owe you financially for the troubles that went through, and at least to assist you. What do you want to say to them?
For me, I don't feel they owe me, because what I did voluntarily, because I had information how they wanted to rig the elections, and I wanted to help them, because all the ruling parties in SADC, especially revolutionary political parties, they are in cahoots. They are rigging elections, they are abusing democracy, they are abusing the constitutions. So to me, it's high time that the opposition political parties in SADC must have a grand coalition. So for me, it was a cause. The economy in Botswana is going down, Botswana are suffering, and whilst Masisi is plundering, squandering money with girlfriends, squandering money with these tenders, with giving it to his brothers. It's a family thing, you know. So for me, it was on 2 fronts. First, as an opposition. Secondly, on a humanitarian ground. Yeah, so for me, it was the right thing to do. But I'm realizing that you can check even on your platform, when we talked, that video we did about Namibia, the lawyer of the rigged Itula candidate of Botswana even wrote a message on your platform under comment section that Tinashe Jonas, we want you to help us. And he was in touch with me, and they even wanted me to come to Namibia and give a sworn statement, because they said you are knowing, after watching the video, we realized that you know what we don't know. Please help us even in our case, testifying and whatsoever. So for me, it's voluntary work to counter ZANU-PF. Because ZANU-PF now, in Zimbabwe, they are successful up to so far by creating their fake opposition parties. So they are very comfortable now in Zimbabwe. There's no opposition political party in Zimbabwe saying anything. They wait for 6 months towards the election, then they start doing poems and whatsoever, fooling Zimbabweans by participating in an election that is run by ZANU-PF, supervised by ZANU-PF, announced by ZANU-PF. So we need to counter ZANU-PF outside and then counter them inside.
Okay, Mr. Tinashe Jonas, I really feel that I've given you a chance to explain here, and a lot of people from Botswana are watching here on a daily basis. So I think let's bring this to an end. Is there anything else you want to say before we close?
What I want to say is those who are in Botswana and they feel those who are Zimbabweans in Botswana must be very careful. They must trade with the UDC. My advice, they must trade with it with great care and understand if the UDC is really an opposition. That's what I can say.
Okay, Mr. Tinashe Jonas, I would like to thank you for joining, and I'll see you again before the end of the year. You will have certain information that you obviously put out. Thank you very much for joining, and thank you very much everyone who has watched here, including the guys in Botswana. I hope that they get in touch with you and you guys can resolve the issues that you have as you work together so well.
Thank you so much.
Kuno aho bano mama wanna get it nice I know pura meso I know pura nzebe